Hi and welcome to Good and Great Christian Book Reviews. This week I want to look at a small book that has a powerful punch, and it's a really important book in our culture. It's a book by David Murray and it's called Reset, Living a Grace-Paced Life in a Burnout Culture. And what David Murray has done is, through personal experience of kind of in different ways burning out, he applies the gospel to our lives. Now this book is written for any Christian, but men in particular, but women can read it. There is a kind of corresponding volume written by his wife for women, but it's written for men, and not just for Christian church leaders, although there are specific applications for leaders, but any Christian man who is living in a kind of burnout culture. Now the book with David Murray, it's typical of David Murray. It is amazingly structured, has a good use of language, is soundly biblical. He has a wide reading which he brings in from both Christian and secular sources, and what he does is he distills kind of the best of the teaching on the issue of what it means to live in a burnout culture and what it means then to live a grace-filled life or a grace-paced life. Ultimately what David Murray does is makes us come and stop 10 times. So 10 chapters are 10 kind of reset bays. So you come into the garage to reset your life, and then these kind of 10 bays that you go into and you look at things like how you view your work. So what is your motivation for your work? What keeps you going in your work? Then it looks at things like rest, and then it looks at things like prioritizing, and then it looks at things like relationships. And it takes you into each of these 10 bays, and he kind of helps us to assess where we're at. Then he shows us what the Bible says we should be doing and common sense says we should be doing, and he dots that with quotations from other men who have struggled there, and either have struggled or have struggled and come through it, and what they say. Now it's an incredibly helpful book, but it's also an incredibly challenging book. It's one of those books where you're reading it and you're going, yeah, I need to do something about that. Yeah, I need to do something about that. So you can't just read it through, you need to kind of like read and pause. I would say that the book is so challenging that perhaps the best thing to do is to read it with someone else. So at least together you can kind of discuss through the implications and be more accountable about the actions that you need to make. I would say that this book is written for anybody who's on the edge of burnout. If you find yourself being afraid, and at the start of the book there's this kind of a series of questions that you can take yourself through and test yourself to see whether you're on the verge of a burnout. And you'll do it and it'll just open your eyes to your kind of situation that you're in. And I would say if you're kind of in that place where you're finding yourself being irritable, tired, you're losing productivity, perhaps you've lost the joy of your salvation, this book will come very graciously. David will come alongside you, will share something of his story and the stories of others, and then he'll help you to work out why that's happening and what you can do to remedy that, how to reset your life. And that will be from a multiple kind of different directions, these 10 different bays that he writes in. So Reset by David Murray, a great book, well worth reading.